Good evening and welcome to Sakir Bahrain for tonight's round 10 Invictus F1 Performance League race. Before we continue, a quick introduction. It's myself, Craig, as always, but tonight it is not Malk, but Captain Stiff, aka Gareth. We've seconded him from last night's No Assist League. Welcome, Gareth.
Good evening everyone, and thank you, Craig. It's great to be in the box. It's great to be back watching the Performance League.
Yeah, so I take it from that comment that you've actually been watching the races so far this season of the Performance League.
Yeah, I when I'm not in the box, so I think I joined Mount for 2 races a few weeks back, and apart from that, I definitely always try and keep up with what's going on in the Performance League. Some of the most exciting racing we have on in the IRL League.
Yeah, and the championship is incredibly close this season. Not as unpredictable as last season, where we had actually witnessed 11 different race winners in 12 races. We're not quite there yet, but we have an incredibly close championship. So at the moment we have the Boogster leading the Drivers' Championship on 51 points, followed by Nick Thompson second on 50 points. Wave Intel is within touching distance with 48, as well as as is Meg Lugpay. But the Boogster, absolutely crucial for the run into the championship conclusion, is actually going to miss the next 2 races, Gareth. So tonight and next week is both races that he's missing, and I think he's actually going to be watching on holiday, just currently watching what the competition's doing round about him as the first few cars take to the circuit.
Yeah, and I think for the Boogster, it's going to be like holding his breath and hoping that Nick drops points, and especially on a circuit like today where the track can ruin tyres very, very quickly. It's going to be very interesting to see the strategy of the different cars on the circuit, whether they go for a qualifying lap on the soft tyre or the medium tyre and give themselves the best chance going into the race for a little bit more of longevity on the tyre, whether they go super soft and try and get further up the grid and get that race position earlier in the session.
Yeah, absolutely. A quick message from McGlugpy, who was actually unable to make tonight's race. He was 50-50 right up until the lobby was opening. So I think he'll be watching with a little bit of trepidation as well at home. He's just out with the championship battle, currently 9 points behind Boogster. But you're right in what you were saying earlier on, Gareth. He'll be watching to see what Wave Intel and Nick Thompson will be able to do tonight, but not a straightforward race for Nick Thompson and the McLaren, and Wave Intel for Haas. So a tough night possibly ahead for them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what happens around the grid. You've got quick drivers on circuits such as MJ Coupe, who is lighting up the times in F3 at the moment, has been right on form in the second half of the season. So you can't count out drivers like MJ Coupe, but also Mike SI, who tends to have a very good race or a very poor race. So I think Mike's definitely due a good race, and especially tonight in the Ferrari, he could be right up there.
Yeah, we also see Tejwar in the Red Bull tonight. It may struggle a little bit in the straights, but in Sector 2, that Red Bull will be absolutely mighty. And the traction that you can get out the slow corners for the Red Bull is absolutely fantastic. And certainly I'm speaking from experience for last night's No Assist League. So Tejwar will really have to get the wing set up really low for Bahrain, trying to get himself as much advantage in the straight line speed as much as he can. But he could come under a lot of pressure from Nitrogas, who's driving for Mercedes tonight, and he's certainly my hot tip for pole position.
Yeah, as you were saying, the car's going around full throttle for around 64% of the lap around Bahrain. So, and the braking points, I think, around this circuit are crucial. So you'll have to find yourself, if you miss your braking point, or if you find yourself going deep into the corner, it can really disrupt the rest of your lap, especially into turn 10, into the second DRS zone. If you run wide into turn 10, you'll drive out onto that dusty and sandy runoff area, and it'll absolutely ruin that DRS zone, and you'll find yourself losing a whole load of time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Even if you don't go as deep into the sand or dust at the edge of the track, being on the curbs, it really hit those rumble strips. You're really struggling with traction, and that is absolutely vital for the second DRS. The DRS activation point, the back end. And it's a mistake from Mike. Also running in no assists this evening, so big mistake from Mike, and I think that's down in sector 1, so yellow flags. Sector 1 for Mike there. So it's absolutely vital to get the best traction you can out of turn 10, possibly giving yourself an overtaking opportunity into turn 11. But I think we'll possibly see most overtaking going down into turn 1, that heavy braking zone after the DRS straight on the main straight. And it certainly proved a very popular overtaking spot, particularly for the Performance League last season as well.
Yeah, I think there's some superb overtaking opportunities around the circuit. It's not really confined to the sort of slower following the cars in front as we had in Hungary last week, where you really only have 1 or 2 opportunities around the lap. You've got into turn 1 using that DRS, but also into areas such as turn 4 after the second straight, down into turn 13 towards the end of the lap. Also, if you manage to get a better run out of turn 12, you can find yourself launching right into the gearbox of the car in front and getting the move done into the final 2 turns at 14 and 15.
Yeah, absolutely right there. And if you really want to risk it, you might actually see the odd overtake into turns 9 and 10, as long as you can actually have a clean inside line, or if you go balls out round the outside. I've seen it done a few times, and it's not a comfortable ride. But while we've been talking about vital overtaking spots, there's Spud in the Red Bull put on provisional pole with a 1:30.0, followed by Toro Rosso driver Mr. Stim, who does get promoted from McLaren last week, and it was an almighty performance from Mr. Stim, coming from 9th up to 4th in the wet.
Yeah, Stim really showing his mettle in that last race and making sure that he kept himself in a decent haul of points, and currently sitting on the front row of the grid at the moment. He's got a decent opportunity. 1:30.1 is a good time for him, but that's an absolutely cracking lap for Spud with that 1:30 flat. It'll be interesting to see. Nick's still in the pits, so yet to come out and set a lap. Yeah,
I'm just wondering if he's thinking of not qualifying, starting in fresh tyres. He's currently sitting on 10th at the moment. Is MJ Coupe still sitting in the garage himself? SGD currently on his outlap, but Saab and the Renault just coming round his outlap as well, yet to set a lap time with 5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session.
Of course, Saab had a decent race in Hungary last week as well. It was I can't remember if it was right towards the end he ruined it ever so slightly as MJ Coupe bails out of that fast lap. So Coupe coming into the pits may have invalidated halfway round the lap, so it's going to have to be a quick in and out if the Williams team are going to get him back out and setting a fast lap.
Yeah, and just as you were saying about Saab last week in Hungary, just unable to beat Wave Intel for that race win. They certainly rued that chance, but it was an almighty masterclass from Wave Intel last week. And the Williams are not an easy car to drive and quite a technical circuit at Hungary. So I think Saab will be looking at least finishing the top 5, but possibly a tough night ahead in the Renault car.
Yeah, it was a masterclass of defending with Wave Intel last week out, especially in that difficult intermediate condition to dry towards the end. It was tricky for the drivers to work out what was the right drop-off point for the intermediates onto the dries, and we saw some guys moving a little bit early and some guys moving a little bit late, but it was Wave Intel that really made that strategy stick and keeping Saab behind absolutely brilliantly come the end of the race.
Yeah, he certainly showed his mettle, and he's definitely progressed a lot with Intel, currently racing in the F3, as you had mentioned earlier on, and I'm certain that we're going to see him move up to Formula 2 next season. and it will be really interesting to see how he copes in the next level up. A quick comment from Betrayer, believing one stop is the way ahead tonight, stopping on lap 10 or 11 on super softs and switching to mediums. And we saw a lot of drivers do that last night as well, Gareth, in the No Assist League, going for the one stop straight on to the mediums after qualifying in supers. Would you say that's the best strategy, or do you think that there's more to be gained on a two stop?
There's definitely advantages to both. I think it depends on where you start on the grid today. So the guys at the towards the back of the grid, I can see them using that one stop and trying to elevate themselves a bit better or with slightly better track position. But we saw the two stop working for Joel yesterday, who came in and put a fresher set of soft tyres on to finish the race, and he was mightily fast come the last 3 or 4 laps, and caught up to the back of Gamer and Jamie 6328. So both the 1 and the 2 are very viable options tonight.
Yeah, and I can certainly leave a testament for how quick Joel was last night in that two-stop strategy. He actually went by me in a blur. He was actually lightning fast last night, and certainly showing that the two-stop is possible for an advantage. And I was actually speaking with Wave Intel and Nick Thompson ahead of tonight's race, and it sounds as if their plan A is the one stop, but I think it will come down to what's actually happening just ahead of them and where they may qualify in tonight's Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yeah, and just looking at, as you were saying before, Nick LJ Thompson yet to come out of the pit lane, so it does look like he's deciding not to set a time tonight and looking at possibly starting on a medium tyre and going longer into the session and finishing up, if he wants to stick for that one stop strategy, maybe putting on a set of super stops later in the race and hoping they last until the end.
Yeah, and I think possibly missing out in qualifying, he's possibly thinking about keeping his nose clean at turn 1 and 2, where all cars will be jostling for position, and it really just tightens up and it really narrows the more that you actually go around the apex at turn 1, and certainly going into turn 2, it's certainly not easy, particularly in the midfield of the pack at the start of the race.
Yeah, and especially as the cars exit out of turn 4 into turn 5, 6 and 7, that's quite quick left, right, left complex of corners. Early in the race when the cars are bunched up, you can find a lot of cars banging wheels, and I imagine Nick's got the thought train of he wants to stay well away from that and just use his pace to cruise through, using those DRS straights to get past and keep his attack on the championship as clean and as calm as possible.
Yeah, Mr. Stim just about to complete his second hot lap, just coming out of turn 14 in the Toro Rosso, 1/10 down in Sir Spud. Can he make that up and take provisional pole? He does not improve, and it looks as if he's going for a second hot lap, so back-to-back hot laps for Mr. Stim as Nitro Gas puts it on provisional pole. So my hot tip for tonight's pole position in the Mercedes, Nitro Gas doesn't quite break the 1 minute 29s, but does improve on Sir Spud, who's now on a hot lap by 4 thousandths of a second. So incredibly close here at the front row.
As MJ Coop puts his Williams up into the second row of the grid in third position. So good luck there from Coop with a 1:30.104. So we'll see if Coop can maintain that position, as he set himself up currently quite nicely on the second row.
Yeah, and that drops Mr. Stim down to 4th, and Mr. Stim trying to drive the wheels off that Toro Rosso, and it's certainly not easy. He's really down on power compared to the cars ahead of him on Mercedes power units. Of course, apart from Red Bull. So tough for him tonight with MJ Coop in the Williams and Nitrogash in the Mercedes while Sir Spud still trying to retake provisional pole in the Red Bull as he's just exiting turn 13, running down towards turn 14. Has he improved on the previous sector 1 and 2 time as he comes round turn 14, trying to straighten up the car as quick as possible to go through the kink at 15. He actually hasn't. So Sir Spud backs out of it. He did not improve in sector 1 and 2, but he's currently still sitting on the front row.
And Mr. Stim 0.3 of a second slower on that lap, so it looked like he took the life out of those super softs on that first flying lap. Couldn't improve, so Stim will start from 4th position. and dropping down. So it's an absolute an electric lap from Nitro to put himself into pole position, and really what Nitro needed, because he's had a very difficult season in both the Performance League and F3 this season.
Yeah, it's not as if he hasn't put himself in a fighting position. I think he's just really had the most unluckiest of seasons, and I'm sure he'll want to put this season behind him. And he's certainly in a strong position for, if not the race win, then at least a podium spot. But I think Nitrogash will just be focusing on securing some points this season. He's the only driver that has yet to score any points in the Performance League that is actually still racing.
And with 3 races, including this one, left to go, as we head to America next week for the Circuit Americas in Austin, which can be another one that's quite tricky, and you'll find yourself picking up the drivers. Will have to watch out for those track extending penalties. Today might be the perfect opportunity for Nitro to give himself just that little bit of confidence as we head over to North America next week.
Yeah, and race winner Waventel in a Haas, unable to really improve on previous qualifying position, still down in 7th. And they'll have Tom 444 in the Force India, who makes a move to Formula 2 starting from tomorrow as well. So could really be a tough night for championship contenders Waventel and Nick Thompson, who did not set a lap time as you'd predicted, Gareth. So final classifications from tonight's Bahrain qualifying session. Pole position goes to Nitrogash, followed by Red Bull driver Sir Spud, separated by 5 thousandths of a second. MG Coupe takes third and he joins Mr Stim in the second row. Giuseppe in the Williams takes fifth. Mike is 6th. Waventel is mentioned as 7th. Tom 448th. SJD's 9th, Tejuar 10th, Ascone 11th, Saab in 12th, and Nick Thompson and McLaren did not set a lap time and will start from 13th on the grid. So, now, please continue, Gareth.
Oh, thank you. What I was going to say, it's a tricky there for Tejuar and SJD, who are starting in 9th and 10th, so not in the optimum position on those super soft tyres. So they're locked into starting on the super softs, but unfortunately stuck in the midfield. It's going to be really tricky for them to make any ground on the guys in front unless they have a really good start. These guys that are stuck on these super soft tyres, sort of off of the front 2 rows, are going to get possibly sucked towards that 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, or we could actually see them opting for the undercut as well if they can't make any progress in the first few laps of the race, going on those mediums. They're going to be really durable as the track temperature begins to reduce, and certainly that will come into play, the harder compound will certainly come into play and should be the race tyre as track temperature and ambient temperature drops throughout the race progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And the run down to turn 1 here is about 400 meters, so not the longest race down to turn 1 for Nitro. So as long as he gets himself a good launch off of the start, making sure that he doesn't jump it, he's got quite a good chance of maintaining that first position heading through the slow turn 1 and turn 2.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. But what we saw from Mr Stim last week, he got a great start off the line at Hungary, and he really made up a couple of positions. And although the run down to turn 1 in Hungary is slightly longer, I don't think Mr Stim will be hanging about either. So Mr Stim possibly one to watch for at the race start, try to make up those positions, because as the race progresses he may be at a disadvantage in that Toro Rosso car. So we go to track. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights, and we are go. It's a great start from Nitrogash. A little bit of lighting up of the rear tyres. Sir Spud tucks in behind in the Red Bull and the Williams, looking to go round the outside. Mr Stim trying to cover off the inside, but he's coming under pressure from the Williams. So it looks as if all drivers have started quite cleanly, Gareth, at the race start.
We've had a tangle at the back between SJD, Nick LJ Thompson and Sab. The 2 Renaults got into each other going into turn 1, and unfortunately it looks like Nick has got front wing damage, left hand side wing damage for the McLaren. So a nightmare start for our championship hopeful Nick LJ Thompson.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. But an interesting strategy call from Saab, actually starting on the medium tyre. So Saab in the Renault looking to go quicker at the end of the race. And what's vital is that he's ahead of SJD, and as you mentioned already, that he'd made a tangle with Nick Thompson. As that Nitrogas struggling there as he exited turn 10, I believe that was, actually going off track. And that promotes a spud into the race lead, followed by MJ Coupe. So Nitrogas losing 2 positions, with Mr. Stim just tucking in behind 310 by 310. So looks as if Nitrogas trying to shrug off that monkey on his back, try to get rid of that bad luck.
Yeah, and at the back, the 2 Force Indias of Tom 444 and Fascone both almost getting into each other going into turn 10, with Fascone having to take to the outside, and that means that Tejuar has crawled right up to the back of him, had a really good run going down into turn 11, but unfortunately couldn't get the move to stick. But it's Tom who's coming in for an early pit stop, must have picked up front wing damage. He has, so front left wing damage for Tom, and I imagine Nick LJ Thompson is staying out, so it looks like Nick is trying to make the most of that broken wing that he's got, but he will be really struggling with downforce in the slower corners.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a train starting to develop behind MJ Coupe. We've got Nitrogas, Mr. Stim, Giuseppe, Wave Intel, and Mike just 1 second behind Wave Intel. So it's the MJ Coupe train.
There's the back. Nick really starting to hound the back of Saab at the moment. So
Saab it looks
on those medium tyres.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there, Gareth, but it looks as if there's been an incident with Mr. Stim, originally with Nitrogas. It looks as if it was one of the Haas as well, so possibly making contact with Wave Intel.
Yeah, and Giuseppe in the Williams as well has got no front wing at all, so he's really going to struggle to get round to the pit lane with that front wing damage at the moment, and he's going to find himself getting swarmed with the cars behind as the Renault of SJD sits behind him heading down into turn 11, with Nitrogas starting to come under attack from Saab and Nick LJ Thompson as he recovers. Yeah,
Mike gets it done over Mr. Stim in that run down towards turn 11. So Ferrari Power certainly giving Mike the advantage in that run down towards turn 11, moving Mike up to 5th.
And a real shame for Nitrogas, who's now sat down in 10th place. Doesn't look like he's picked up any damage. He's not coming into the pit lane, but obviously from pole position down to, well, now 9th, that Giuseppe has come into the pit lane, but from 1st to 9th in the first 3 laps is exactly maintaining that bad luck that we've seen Nitro suffer throughout the entirety of the season.
Yeah, big lock up there from Mr. Stim into turn 1, going down the inside of the Ferrari of Mike, and moves himself back up to retake 5th, but Tejuar going down the inside at turn 4 of Mike, so Tejuar moves up to 6th. Mike coming under a lot of pressure from SJD and the Renault as well, as Tejuar and Mike go wheel to wheel through the S section at sector 2. Mike coming under pressure from SJD, who's looking to go round the outside, and Mike there at the tight right hand hairpin.
And Nitrogas here trying to get back involved in the parties. He's all over the back of SJD in the Renault, and Nitrogas really wanting to get a charge back on. He wants to get back up as he's right in the gearbox of the Renault in front. Does he pull to the inside? It'd be a very brave move into 11. He doesn't. He sticks behind at the moment, which is probably the smarter choice to make, but don't count out Nitro at the moment. He will be on the charge. He'll be absolutely furious with what happened and want to be getting right back up to the front of the pack.
Yeah, runs wide out of turn 12 as well. Comes back on track and loses a little bit of time to SGD, around about 0.2 of a second. But that Mercedes power unit will certainly allow him to close down the gap, with DRS activated the last lap, and it's a 4-way run down into turn 1, led by Mike, followed by SGD, Nitrogas and Nick Thompson. Can just see them within touching distance.
And Nick got the move done on Saab on those slower medium tyres, so even with that wing damage, Nick using the faster soft compound to get past Saab, which was crucial at this stage of the race.
Yeah, Mike coming under a little bit of pressure from the Renault of SGD, coming round turn 4. He ran wide out of turn 1. That allowed SGD to come into play, but Nitrogas looking to go round the outside and Mike as well at 3 ways into turn 5 and 6 as Nitrogas runs deep again, really struggling with front end grip from that front wing damage.
Or as Nick L.J. Thompson gets into the side of the Mercedes once again, and Nitro unfortunately just had nowhere to go. Nick just went a little bit too deep into the corner, just pushed Nitro offline onto the runoff area at the exit of turn 8, and unfortunately Nitro drops down to 11th position as Sab, who managed to get the place back on Nick after Nick was tangled up with Nitro. So Nick now got it all to do once again. He's got to get back past that Renault on the slower tyre.
Yeah, possibly pressure and a little bit of impatience getting in the way on round 10 of the Invictus Performance League Championship, and we've got a 29 lap race to go. Drivers just need to remain patient and try and avoid contact at all costs, because they're more likely to disadvantage themselves as well as others. So we're within lap 5:29, and we've got Sir Spud leading the Bahrain Grand Prix, followed by MJ Coupe. The gap 2.8 seconds. Wave and Tail moves up to third from 7th. Great start of the race for Wave and Tail. 2.5 seconds behind MJ Coupe, with Mr. Stims beginning to drop off from the Haas, and fast going 1.3 seconds behind Mr. Stim, and he'll feel in the Force India that Mr. Stim is certainly a possible target for overtake.
Yeah, absolutely. In the battle for 10th place at the moment, Nitrogas just got the move done back on Nick and just got his elbows out, got the move done on with DRS down into turn 1. Just as Nick did going into turn 8 last lap, Nitro just running out a little bit wide, just running the McLaren slightly offline, and maybe a little bit of payback for what happened on the previous lap. But he's got a slower exit out of turn 10, and Nick is all over the back of the Mercedes.
Yeah, and they just cannot catch the Mercedes of Nitrogas, even with DRS assistance. So it shows how quick that Mercedes is in a straight line compared to the McLaren, but Nitrogas is on the quicker tyre compound as well. And as we get towards the first pit window, the soft should definitely give Nick Thompson a slight advantage on those that are on the super soft.
Absolutely, and with Fascone sitting in 5th place at the moment on the soft compound tyres, he'll be able to go a little bit longer than the top 4 ahead of him, so it'll be interesting to see how much life Fascone can get out of those soft tyres as he heads towards the part of the race where the guys will be coming in. So don't count out Fascone at the moment, who's had a couple of good races, and he's starting to get back on form in the F3 league as well. So it's going to be an interesting strategy choice between, do these guys, first, second, third and fourth, do they come in, do they go for the one stop and put a set of mediums on and try and get them to last almost 20 laps, or do they go for the 2-stop?
And as we're talking, Gareth, Wave and Tail beginning to rein in MJ Coupe for second place, a gap 9/10 of a second. Wave and Tail has DRS on that run down towards turn 11, closing down MJ Coupe even more. The gap dropping down to 8/10, now 7/10 of a second. Will we see Wave and Tail try and overtake on the main straight, or will we see Wave and Tail go for the undercut if he cannot get past that Mercedes powered Williams car?
Yeah, MJ Coupe very, very smart tactically. He'll know that Wave and Tail's fast behind him, and Coupe's always one, he always thinks about it very strategically, so it'll be interesting to see if he decides to pit in a little bit earlier and kind of try and get the undercut on Wave and Tail, knowing that Wave might get the move done on him, whether he can get out and set a faster outlap on a set of fresh tyres.
Yeah, and that looked as if that was a little feint into the pit entry from MJ Coupe, hoping that Wave and Tail might have actually bit on that little hook there. But MJ Coupe stays out on track in lap 7, followed by Wave and Tail 4/10 of a second, dropping to 3/10 as we approach turn 4. Nitrogas gets a 5-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So his evening just goes from bad to worse as we are approaching the first pit window.
Yeah, it's a set of the medium compound tyres for Nitro, but also a front wing change for the Mercedes crew there. So Nitro with the 5-second penalty, and also the fact that he had the extra time in the pit lane due to the front wing. So Nitro, having started the race on pole position, now finds himself plumb last, and really, unfortunately, it's going to be a real long race for Nitro.
Yeah, oh, there's a loss of traction at the back for Tail as he exits turn 14. Just clips the curb at the exit of turn 14, lights up the rear tyres and spins into the wall. So Tail dropping from third, back on track at 8th, and MJ Coupe will breathe a sigh of relief as he was coming under increasing pressure from Haas driver Tail.
Yeah, real shame there for Waventel, who had been showing some good promise behind MJ Coupe and was starting to really unnerve Coupe and possibly push him into a different strategy. But it's going to be an earlier pit stop than what Waver was expecting. But if he was looking for the one stop, this is probably the sort of time where the guys would be coming in. So although he's dropped down to 8th place and probably lost around 10 to 15 seconds from that spin, it's still recoverable if he's doing the one stop and the others go on to the 2.
Yeah, and as you're saying, talking about pit stops, Tejuar does come into the pits, goes on to the medium tyre, followed by Tail coming in to change that front wing and also going on to the medium tyres as well. So, Sir Spud, carry on, Gareth.
No, I was saying just Tejuar coming out just behind Giuseppe, so Giuseppe just about getting ahead of Tejuar, so Giuseppe on those soft compound tyres may start to come under attack from Tejuar as Nitro retires from the session in the pit lane. So obviously the Mercedes team, as they fit another front wing, must have realised that there was a extended bit of damage to the car that was unseen by us and retired the car in the pit lane.
Yeah, certainly Mercedes team, considering there is 2 Grand Prix remaining, so maybe want to save the miles on that engine. As Nick Thompson behind Saab, currently sitting in 8th place at the moment, 1.1 seconds behind Saab as we come round turn 13 on the run down towards turn 14-15 to begin their 9th lap of the 29 lap Grand Prix. Sir Spud still stays out on track. He's got a 7.1 second gap over MJ Coupe and the Williams. So it's improved now to 7.5. Fascone in the softs moves himself up to third in the Force India, 5.9 seconds behind MJ Coupe, with SGD 5.1 seconds behind in fourth. Mike, after having a little bit of difficulty early on the race, is up into 5th with Saab in 6th. Nick Thompson in 7th trying to chase Saab hard. Mr Stim makes a pit stop on the soft tyre, so that is a 2-stop strategy from Mr Stim. Tom on the mediums likely to go to the end is in 9th. Giuseppe in 10th. Tejuar on the medium tyre after his pit stop is 11th. Tail dropping to the back of the grid after that mistake at turn 11.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what strategy MJ Coupe and Spud go for. With Stim going onto the soft compound tyres and locking himself into that 2-stop strategy, it'll be very interesting to see if the guys manage to, or do they follow him and go for they won't be able to see Stim's choice from now, but do they equally go for the 2-stop, or do they go onto a set of mediums and try and run to the end? Yeah,
and as we will be approaching the pit window for Sir Spud in the next few laps, so Sir Spud looking to go a bit longer than fellow Red Bull driver Tejuar, who opted to come in round about laps 7 or 8, as MJ Coupe now does come into the pits. That will free up Fascone and promotes Fascone on the soft up to 2nd. SGD comes into the pits as well from 4th. Mike continues out on track on the super softs, and that will move him up to 4th, overtaking MJ Coupe while he's exiting the pit lane as well. So Sir Spud still out on track on the super softs, 13.7 second lead over Fascone in 2nd. Mike up into 3rd, Saab in 4th, but there's a 2 or 3 car battle. Nick Thompson fighting MJ Coupe as MJ Coupe come out the pit lane, and Mr Stim really got the jump on both drivers, but it's likely to make another pit stop at this point in the race.
Yeah, so that was crucial there for Stim to get the move done. It was really unfortunate for MJ Coupe there. He was maybe he wanted to have had half a second extra lead on Stim, but as the two of Stim and Saab go side by side through turn 8 and heading down, as Stim gets the move done on those newer tyres. But as Coupe came out of the pit lane, it was Stim that was coming down the main straight with DRS on Nick LJ Thompson, pulled out and was lucky not to collect the back of the Williams as he came out of the pit lane as the three went 3 wide into turn 1. And a very, very, well, it was crucial for Stim, who's going to be doing a 2-stop strategy compared to Coop, who looks like he's going to be on the 1, that he needs to get ahead of these cars and he needs to start bridging a little bit of a gap if he's going to set or get that pit stop in, because pit stop here will cost you around 21 seconds. So as Giuseppe retires from the session.
Yeah, it's actually, I think that's thermal damage. He's actually sitting off track at the moment in Sector 2, and it might I think Toro Rosso will actually regret that decision to go with the 2-stop strategy. Oh, it's SGD, goes up the inside of the Force India of Tom, but he actually went deep out of turn 14, and that allowed Tom to just retake that position from SGD as they run down towards turn 1.
As Nick LJ Thompson comes into the pit lane for his only pit stop of the race, gets that new wing on, so hopefully he's going to pick up a lot more pace as he comes out, but drops to the back of the grid now in 11th position. So currently Nick LJ Thompson picking up 0 points, and with the Boogster not racing, that's exactly where the Boogster will want him to finish. But for Nick, it's all about a recovery drive now.
Yeah, we've got a great wheel-to-wheel battle between Saab and the Renault, MG Coupe and the Williams. Both drivers looking to go to the end of the race, and both drivers really trading positions as we're just coming through Sector 2. We're now approaching turn 11. MG Coupe gets ahead with Mercedes power and DRS assistance. So this is vital for the final classification of the race results. MG Coupe moving up to 5th. Mr. Stim will hope that he can open up the gap between MG Coupe and Saab behind. He's actually tucking in behind Mike, getting dragged along towards turn 14. Big lock up for the Toro Rosso. Stim makes contact with the rear of the Ferrari as it comes out of turn 14, and Mike actually comes into the pits, and I'm certain that'll be going on to the medium tyre as Mr. Stim moves up to 3rd position.
What is interesting is Nick came in on lap 11 off the soft tyres, so there's still cars that were on the super softs that came in around the same sort of time. So obviously that front wing damage really hampered the tyre wear of the McLaren, and he just couldn't get the softs to last as long as he could. So really starting on the slower tyre, he's not managed to get the length out of it that he kind of would have wished. So it's neutralised his pace when it comes to going onto the mediums compared to everyone else, as we've got a battle for 7th, 8th, and for 6th, 7th and 8th between Tom's, SJD and Tejwar at the moment forming as they head down into the complex of 5, 6 and 7.
Yeah, while Tom 444 and SGD were battling, that allowed Tejwar to really close up the gap. Oh, the Renault of SGD tries to have a little look up the inside at turn 8, and it was just never going to come off. Tom just carried on round the outside, allowed the Force India pace. Oh, it goes deep. So Renault of SGD goes deep in turn 10, and that allows Tejwar to come up the inside, moving up to 7. So 2 quite tough corners for SGD, losing 1 position to Tejwar, and just missing out on an overtaking opportunity over Tom 444.
Yeah, Tejwar looking quite racy on these medium tyres, caught up to the back of Tom and SJD's fight, and he's now starting to attack the rear end of the Force India. So Tejwar looking very decent at this stage in the race in the Red Bull.
Yeah, I think as we get ever closer to the new release of F1 2018, it almost renewed his racing enthusiasm. I think we're really seeing that tonight. He had a tough week last week in the Force India, having front wing damage, which was not replaced by the Force India mechanics, and forced him to retire as he exited the pit box. So possibly looking to make up for it tonight, and he's really putting on the pressure of Force India driver Tom 444, so maybe wanting a wee bit of revenge over the Force India team this week.
Yeah, what is interesting is Wave and Tail in the Haas car starting to crawl back to these guys for 5th, 6th and 7th. So Wave and Tail, who obviously had that spin and lost his nose cone earlier in the race, starting to make a couple of inroads on these guys that are battling in front. And the longer these three battle between themselves, the more it will give Waventail time to use that ever so slightly a little bit more of fresh air just to cruise up to the back of them. And we know how racy Wave can be when it comes to overtaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Tejuar and Tom 444 have been battling, that's allowing SGD to just close in a little bit as well. But SJD's mirrors will be getting full of the Haas of Waventail. And as you mentioned, he's a very, very plucky and racy driver. And he'll be seeing these three drivers rubbing his hands, knowing that there is good points up for grabs, which is vital for the overall Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, as Tejuar there runs wide runs over the corner into turn 13, so it gave him a slight advantage as he pretty much straight lined that corner. But unfortunately for him, he's not going to want to do that anymore, because he will find himself picking up penalties, and with drivers around him so closely. We saw last night with Joel picking up a penalty on the last lap. It actually lost him the race win and dropped him down to third position as Tejuar goes deep into turn 1, just outbraked himself looking at the back of the Force India, and that's allowed SJD right up to the back of the Red Bull.
Yeah, certainly misjudged the braking of the Force India ahead. Tries to take avoided action, and it went deep in turn 1, and that allows SGD to close in the gap. He's now 0.4 of a second, but Waventail getting ever closer. The gap now 1.5 seconds between the Haas and the Renault. Oh, and there's contact between Force India and the Red Bull, and Tom just makes contact with the rear of Tom, and he's definitely waiting for Tom to come back round and handing that place back. But Tejuar suffering from extreme front wing damage as he made contact with the rear of the Force India.
Yeah, a real shame there for Tom, who just was a little bit too eager heading into turn 8 and just got on the brakes a little bit too late, was caught in the dirty air of that Force India and just tapped the rear end of it, put Tom offline. So both of them have suffered, but what it has done is it's allowed Waventail 2 free positions, and now he's only got SJD to attack. Yeah, Waventail will be he'll be feeling that luck's on his side tonight, gaining 2 positions without really having to do anything or do much work. But a 3-way battle developing for 9th position at the moment with Mike, Saab and Nick Thompson as they just come round the final corner at 14 and 15. Nick Thompson behind Saab, half a second. Saab trying to close down the Ferrari, but that's a tough ask with the long straight between 14, 15 and turn 1 as well. So Saab could come under pressure from McLaren driver Nick Thompson as Tejuar comes out of the pits opting for the soft tyre. So he'll be hoping that soft tyre compound can get him to the end of the race. Yeah, Tej there having to serve his 5-second stop-go before the mechanics are allowed to touch the car for that collision with Tom 444. So dropped him quite far down outside of the points now. So it's going to be a real struggle as Nick goes around the outside into turn 8 of Saab. Does he get the move done? He's going to have the inside line heading into turn 9 and 10. The Renault's get a little bit more power. He tries to hang around the outside, but they both get caught. And Nick's just going to keep it out of the wall, having to put full power down and kick the rear end of that McLaren out to keep the front wing from heading into the barriers. But unfortunately for Nick, he just got a little bit too hot going into the corner, and both of them, it was a little bit too scrappy, and it's for Nick to do all over again. And unfortunately, this is the part of the race for the guys on the mediums where they need to be looking after the tyres. They don't want to be getting in too many battles, because you want to make sure that they're not too burnt out, the tyre wear's not too high, because there's still 13 laps left to go. Yeah, Waventail having a little look up the inside of SGD as we're running down towards turn 1. So Waventail beginning to turn the screw on Renault driver SGD. Waventail looking to go up the inside at turn 4. SGD gives him plenty of room, probably too much room I think there.
And SGD trying to hold on to that lead, but Waventel is inside as we go round turn 5 and 6, and Waventel moves up to 5th place as he comes round turn 8. So great overtaking move there from Waventel. Great respect between Waventel and SJD on track. So we certainly like to see that, and I'm hoping that you like to see some of that as well.
Absolutely, and Waventel, our very own Daniel Ricciardo, the last of the late breakers there, was very brave into turn 4, took a very tight line, used that Ferrari power of the Haas to get the drive out alongside into turn 5 and 6 with the Renault, which is incredibly brave. You rarely see cars do that because it's so easy to get tangled up with each other. And at this stage of the race, already having picked up front wing damage due to a spin, Waventel could have just sat there and waited for the DRS, but no, he decided to go for it, and he's got the move done.
Yeah, he's beginning to open up the gap between himself and SJD. He's actually broken the DRS as well. The gap currently sitting at 1.1 seconds as Sir Spud continues to control the race at the front, opening up a gap of 4 seconds to Toro Rosso driver Mr. Stim.
Yeah, of course, and Mr. Stim, who's on that two-stop strategy, so Stim in a little bit of a faint position at the moment because he will have to come in and stop again for the super soft tyres, and I imagine in around 3 or 4 laps time, and give himself around 8 or 9 laps on those super softs. So Stim hasn't got that lead that he would have wanted. He'll probably still only drop to where, or possibly around Waventel's position, so be interesting. If Wave can keep up the pace that he's got at the moment, he may have the opportunity of jumping Stim.
Yeah, he could actually come out behind the battle between Waventel and SJD. He'll certainly have the advantage of fresher tyres, and it's going to be a tough ask to overtake both the Renault and the Haas in a Toro Rosso car. So Mr. Stim, he's losing a lot of time now to Sir Spud, and I think we will see Mr. Stim coming into the pits very soon. Sir Spud sets the fastest lap on the medium tyre compound of a 1:33.
And that's really impressive from Spud there. It's not like he's only just put these mediums on. He's had them on for a couple of laps, and there's guys out there on the soft compound tyres. So as Tejuar has gone wide coming out of turn 8, and unfortunately he's collected the wall as the Red Bull looks to have retired. He's going to pull over to the side by the marshal's post, and a really unfortunate night for Tej once again as the Red Bull retires from the race.
Yeah, certainly looked very racy, competing against Tom 444. He just made a mistake going into turn 8, making contact with the rear of the Force India, and as you had mentioned earlier on, Gareth serving that drive-through penalty as he came in to replace that front wing. Yeah,
it's unfortunate for Tej. We know that he's a good driver on his day. He just needs that luck. Light nitro gas, just struggles for luck every now and then. But I'm just checking on Nick L.J. Thompson, who's right on the rear end of Sab's Renault at the moment, looking to go around the outside of turn 4 in the McLaren.
Yeah, just trying to, went for that cut back in the exit of turn 4, gets ahead of Saab coming through 5 and 6. Round 7 there's carbon fibre coming off. I think that was from the McLaren, so Nick Thompson possibly. As it's the left hand side of the front wing, and he's going to be struggling with a lack of downforce again.
Yeah, that's a gutting there for Nick after running with that front wing damage earlier in the race, and he came on, put that new front wing on, and he's been running well to try and make up some points. He just needs anything tonight, and it looked like he had the move done on Sab, but Sab just going side by side through turn 6 and 7 and just got a little bit of oversteer and drifted into Nick L.J. Thompson's line, and it's Nick that comes off worse with that front wing damage.
Mr. Stim does come in for his second pit stop. He's sticking with the soft tyres. Waventel coming up speed into turn 1. It's vital for Mr. Stim. Gets out ahead of Waventel and SJD. So Mr. Stim, that must have been an almighty in-lap there, putting on full rich fuel, and stays ahead of Waventel, but Waventel sensing that a 4th place is possible, and he will be charging behind Mr. Stim, but Mr. Stim will be hoping that those fresh soft tyres can keep him ahead of that fast Haas driver.
Yeah, and what will be interesting is to see is, does Stim do as Joel did last night? So Joel came in at this sort of time in the race and put the soft tyres on, and he was electric. He had absolutely incredible pace towards the end of the race compared to the guys that were on the one-stop strategy of Gamer and Jamie. So it'll be very interesting to see if Stim can make up that time, because he's got Fascone, Coop and Spud well up the road. But I can definitely see a podium on for Stim if he keeps up the pace that he'll be showing on the soft compound.
Yeah, and he's actually starting to open up the gap between himself and Wave and Tail. Well, it's went up to 1.5 seconds, so Mr. Stim looking to actually maintain fourth place at the moment. Nick Thompson has a little look up the inside of the Renault at turn 11. A little bit more cautious this time. I think that was because of the earlier front wing damage. Saab runs slightly deep out of turn 13. Nick Thompson taking the tighter line towards the apex. Nick Thompson tucking in behind that Renault, getting pulled down towards turn 13. He will have DRS assistance going down towards turn 1. Can we see an overtake into turn 1? Moving Nick Thompson up into turn 8th place, and this is vital for the Drivers' Championship. Comes out the toe, even with DRS, he cannot catch that Renault. SGD pits that, promotes Saab and Nick Thompson, so Nick Thompson moves up to 8th, Saab into 7th, and Saab maintains that sound position. But Nick Thompson, a great exit out of turn 2, looking to come up towards outside of turn 4. Can he get the overtake done round the outside, Gareth?
It's just the Honda power just not giving him that extra edge heading down the straight, and unfortunately for Nick, he's doing the best he can, but the Renault's just managing to get a little bit more grip off those soft tyres, and it's just Nick's just every single corner he seems to get a better exit than Saab, but he just can't get the power down. It doesn't give him what he wants, and it must be really frustrating for Nick to be sitting in that cockpit, as he's going to be right in the gearbox of the Renault going down into the second DRS zone. As they exit turn 10, that flap opens the rear wing of the McLaren as they head down towards turn 11. Saab goes defensive very early. It means Nick's going to have to go around the outside. He does. He hangs around, but Saab's running him right to the end of the line. Nick pulls back in. Does he get the move done? He doesn't quite. He's still going to have to stay in the drag of that Renault, and what's going to be happening is he's going to get all that horrible, dirty, hot air coming off the rear of that, the rear car of the car of the Renault in front. It's going to be heating up those tyres. He's going to be getting dirty air. He's going to be slipping and sliding everywhere. So he needs to get this move done, but it's just every time, even with the DRS, as he looks really, really sorted, as into the pit lane comes the Renault. So luckily for Nick, it was an extra pit stop needed for Saab, so that's freed up the McLaren to go down. But with charging SJD on the super softs behind him, I don't think this is the end of the battles for Nick tonight.
Yeah, I don't think Nick can sit as comfortably as he would like. He gets rid of one Renault, but he's got a very fast Renault and the super soft tyres in the form of SJD behind. So Nick Thompson, 8 laps remaining in this Grand Prix. It's vital that he stays as close to Wave Intel as possible in terms of championship points. But I don't think he's going to be able to successfully defend against SGD on super softs, as well as him having front wing damage in that McLaren.
No, it's going to be really tricky for Nick on the tyres that he's on, especially with that front wing damage. He might turn into a bit of a sitting duck as it gets into the DRS zones. And just checking on Stim here, who's now down to 3.1 seconds behind Fascone in third position. So Stim on the charge for a podium finish tonight.
Yeah, he's definitely putting in a mighty second stint on those soft tyres, and I think you're certainly right, Gareth, with that prediction that a podium is up for grabs for Mr. Stim. And he just missed out on the podium last week, finishing 4th, so I'm sure he'll want to make up for it this week in Bahrain, and he's actually took another 0.3 of a second from Fascone in third.
And what I think we're glazing over today is the incredible performance that Spud has shown us in first position, leading by almost 12 seconds at the moment. So a really, really good race for Spud in the Red Bull tonight. Equally for NJ Coupe in the Williams, who's done very well to keep second position, currently with a 10-second lead. So Spud and Coupe just racing their own races at the moment, no one really around them. So it's all concentration for those guys. It's making sure lap after lap they just find their braking points, hit every single apex they need to. It's all about consistency for those two.
Yeah, and as the track temperature reduces, the medium tyre compound will certainly come into play. But although it's reducing in temperature, the atmosphere is certainly not cooling down. It's actually heating up. Nick Thompson coming under pressure out of turn 10 from SJD in the Renault. So SJD possibly wanting to make up for that overtake that Nick Thompson made on earlier on. So maybe wanting to even up the score. He's certainly got the advantage from the Renault engine. And he's definitely got advantage on the super softs as we come round turn 12 up the hill towards turn 3. SGD trying to tuck in behind the McLaren, trying to stay out the dirty air, but it gets an almighty exit of turn 13. Will we see a move up before turn 14? The Renault has the inside line for the McLaren. Both drivers will have to be very careful to do not collect each other into turn 14. Nick Thompson trying to tuck in behind the Renault to get that pull down towards turn 1, but I think SGD's got it done.
Nick L.J. Thompson, however, has got DRS because he got the move done so early, so Nick will have the opportunity of a quick comeback. Does he have a look down the inside? No, he gets covered by SJD, so well defended by the Renault driver. He got the move done so early into the corner that Nick managed to get that DRS, but it shows the power differential between the Honda and the Renault, and equally new tyres compared to older tyres.
Yeah, and I think Nick's struggling with tyre wear as well as lack of downforce as he goes deep into turn 4. The car sliding across track. It just does not have any grip, and he's going to have to keep an eye on Tom 444 in the Force India, who's only 3.7 seconds behind but on the soft tyre compound. Mr. Stim's taking out another 1 second from fast going, lap 24 of 29. He's got 5 laps remaining to reduce that 1.4 seconds now, and can he get that third place?
Yeah, it's looking increasingly likely that Stim will find himself on third position on the rostrum come the end of the race in the Toro Rosso. You can see the rear end of the Force India as they go down into turn 1, so it's going to give him real impetus to chase him down and get the move done. But we know the Force India is very strong in a straight line, so it's going to be very interesting to see where he gets the move done. Is it into the slower corners where Fascone may be slightly slower out of the slower corners, or does he just use those new tyres and DRS and get it done down the main straight?
Yeah, just having feedback from Nitro Gash in terms of his retirement after a lag collision from Mr. Stim as we went down into turn 8, and certainly the stewards will be investigating that after the race. But just no luck at all this season for Nitro Gash.
No, it's been a real shame for Nitro, who's definitely a lot faster than what he's showing in the leagues at the moment. His lack of points isn't an indication of his talent. We've seen him put it on pole on numerous occasions, and it's just that bad luck he's suffered during races that's hampered him throughout the season. And hopefully, as we head towards the next season with the new game, we might see a much quicker and a much happier Nitro Gash.
Yeah, I think the break can't come quick enough for him. Just trying to put this season behind them as quick as possible, and certainly we hope that he returns with a renewed vigour. We certainly know, as you had said, Gareth, that he has the talent, and he just needs that little bit of luck on his side. As Mr. Stim begins to close down Fascone on the main straight into turn 1, Fascone broke a little bit late going deep. Mr. Stim saw the gap, tried to put it in, but actually locked up his brakes and made slight contact with the Force India. So Mr. Stim really eager to get this third place, but he just has to be careful that he does not do it too aggressively as we approach turn 5, 6 and 7. Fascone goes deep out of turn 6 into turn 7. That compromises his exit of 7 into 8. So Fascone possibly struggling with overall tyre wear, and Mr. Stim certainly has the pace at this point in the race.
Yeah, it looked like Stim was trying to go for the quick switchback heading into turn 8 there, but Fascone covered it off very quickly, and you saw the Toro Rosso locking up the front tyres as he realised he had to pull out of it very, very sharpish, or he'd end up with front wing damage, which would really ruin Stim's race right now. It doesn't look like he's going to be moving any further forward than third, so he's got time to get this move done. He's got the fresher tyres, he's got more confidence in the car, so he doesn't need to rush this overtake.
Yeah, it certainly looks as if he's pushing that Toro Rosso to its edge. And you're absolutely right, he just needs to remain patient. He'll have an opportunity with DRS. He's right on the gearbox of the Force India. He will have the slipstream, he'll have DRS. He's tucking in behind the Force India. Comes out onto the inside, running down into turn 1. He has the inside line and he can control the turn into turn 1. Slight lock up and gets the move done into turn 1. But can Fast Go in the Force India get a good exit out of turn 2 and 3, try to make a retake, or sorry, an overtaking opportunity for himself into turn 4. He's closing down the gap slightly, but just cannot get close enough to put pressure onto Mr. Stim as we come up into turn 5, 6 and 7.
Yeah, it looked like Fascone didn't go defensive earlier in the main straight, so realised that it was probably inevitable that the Toro Rosso was going to come past the Force India. He just allowed the Toro Rosso the inside line heading into turn 1, so pretty much the easiest overtake that Stim could go for there. Didn't have to worry about an outside line with the Force India possibly drifting out and getting a little bit of oversteer going into the corner. But yeah, it's a little Fascone possibly settling for a 4th place finish as we head into three laps left at the end of this.
Yeah, I think you're right there in terms of Fascone. I think he realises he does not have the grip to fight the Toro Rosso of Mr. Stim, and possibly happy just to take the 4th place. So Fascone possibly thinking of the long game, and he won't want any incidents which might compromise himself from securing any points tonight.
Just looking further down the grid, there's potential for one final battle heading into the latter stages of the races. SJD on those new super softs, looking around 2.7 seconds behind Mike, who's on those old mediums. So it's going to be tricky because SJD super softs, they will be coming towards the end of their life, and time is bouncing around 2.8 to 2.5 over the lap. But does he have anything left in those red wall tyres to come back and possibly take 6th place off of Mike?
Yeah, I think you can see Mike in the distance. It all comes down to how much SGD wants to gamble. He's got a healthy lead over Nick Thompson, so if he does make a mistake, as long as he's got a quick recovery, he won't lose too much time, and he possibly won't lose the position to Nick Thompson. He is closing down Mike. He's taking 3/10 of a second out of one sector, and he's beginning to close down Mike. So is there enough time for SGD to get that move done? The gap now down to 2.1 seconds, so we may see an opportunity for SGD on Mike on the last lap of the race.
Yeah, and as we saw last night with the no assists, you can get moves done on the final lap. We saw plenty of overtaking in the final 3 laps last night, so it's definitely the option is there that if you've got the option, go for it, because the guys will be struggling with tyre wear, especially the guys that are on the mediums, and it's all about bravery when it comes to the end of this. Do they have the bravery to possibly throw it down and trust the guy that they're overtaking to see them coming? But to get that extra position, an extra point or two, it could be crucial come the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly with things being so tight in the midfield battle of the Drivers' Championship, every point certainly counts. And Mike will just be hoping to bring this car home for 6th place. He had a tough start of the race, and I'm sure he'll certainly be happy with 6th. And possibly taking that confidence into the Circuit of the Americas next week, and then finishing in Malaysia in 2 weeks' time.
Just watching Spud currently leading by almost 15.5 seconds to MJ Coop. He's actually pulled out a second over Coop in this lap, so Coop's tyres possibly starting to fall off the cliff, but it just doesn't look like Spud has put a foot wrong once. The entire race he's kept it clean, got the moves done when he needed to, put it up into 1st place and controlled the race from the start, and with still increasing his time as we head towards the final lap of the race as Coop comes across the line to start his final lap as well. But real credit to Spud, who's driven a perfect race tonight.
Yeah, certainly in the racing zone, and I'm sure he'll approach next week's race the same way that he has tonight. So possibly going away to reflect on his approach and preparation for this race, and maybe taking that into next season as well. He's been unfortunate that he's missed out on a few championship bids the last few seasons, and he's certainly in the zone and in the racing mood tonight, and continuing to open up the gap between himself and a very quick driver that is MJ Coop.
SJD sitting 1.6 seconds behind Mike heading into the final lap, so it's quite a big ask now for SJD to get the move done, but he has made up a second on the Ferrari in front. And what do Mike's tyres have left? Do they carry him round safely into 6th position, or has SJD got anything left to come back at him with?
Yeah, and Tom 444 all over the back of Saab, fighting for 9th and 10th. Just came out of the final turn on the main straight for the final time. Tom 44 will have DRS assistance yellow flags in sector 2. Saab he's got a little bit of a lead, but it's going to be a late braking competition. Tom locks up, goes down the inside at turn 1. Can Saab hold him off his heel? Is he off the inside line for turn 2? It doesn't. So Tom 444 on those super soft tyres moves up to 9th, but Saab trying to come round the outside. Will we see the cut back into turn 4? He's trying to cut back, but Tom 44 has it covered off, and Tom 444 should secure 9th, but it is race victory for Sir Spud and Red Bull, followed by Mr. Stim, who takes 2nd. So disaster for MJ Coop, possibly losing that on penalties or an earlier mistake. We missed that, but MJ Coop goes from 2nd to 5th. Mike should come round the final few corners to take 6th place, and I'm sure he'll be delighted with that. SJD, after that 2-stop strategy, will take 7th. Nick Thompson will take 8th. So a hard race for Nick Thompson, and he should secure 3 points from tonight's race. Tom 444, after that overtake of Saab, should keep 9th depending on penalties. Saab trying to stay within a 3-second gap. It's currently sitting at 2.3 seconds, but Tom comes out of turn 14, the kink at 15, puts the power down across the start finish line and takes 9th at the checkered flag. But is there penalties depending on Saab's actually went off track in frustration? It slams the Renault into the wall. But an absolute racing masterclass from Sir Spud from start to finish, and I'm personally delighted for Sir Spud's race win tonight, Gareth. What's your thoughts on tonight?
I sat on board with Spud as he exited the final corner, and he turned the car from side to side, the team shouting and screaming in delight as he crossed the line. But it was a left rear puncture for MJ Coop on the final lap that dropped him down to 5th position. So a nightmare, absolute disaster for the Williams team, with a puncture ruining Coop's chance at a 2nd place tomorrow.
Yeah, and he'll be kicking himself for that. He almost had 2nd in the bag, and he will be absolutely fuming that he's missed a 2nd place finish. So at the moment I'm just looking for the drivers so that we can invite them for the after race podium interviews. So hopefully we will be joined by race winner Sir Spud, 2nd place driver Mr. Stim, and Fascone, who secured 3rd. Just looking for Mr. Stim so that we can hopefully invite him to the race interviews. So Gareth, what was the most outstanding moment for you of tonight's race? What is it that you think you'll remember when you wake up tomorrow?
I think it's the overall racecraft between the guys tonight was superb. Even though we saw a couple of cars get tangled up, that there was a lot of fair drive around a lot of tricky corners. We saw cars going side by side into turn 5 and 6, and some absolutely fantastic overtakes, such as Wave and Tell, as he got the move done through 5 and 6. So, and coming back to finish 4th after the spin and collecting with the wall was an absolutely dream result for Wave and Tell. Yeah,
so we'll just wait for the top 3 drivers to join us, So we have been joined by race winner Sir Spud. We've also been joined by second place driver Mr. Stim, and we will await third place finisher Fast Going. We'll just give you a couple of minutes to catch your breath, guys. While you're doing that, can you please check your party settings that you allow your voice to be shared and that you remain in the lobby screen. So, an absolute exhilarating race from start to finish. Sir Spud, I believe, started from second on the grid after a bit of mayhem in turn 1. Came out of turn 3, I believe, in the race lead and basically just controlled the race from there. So, Spud, congratulations on tonight's race victory. Can you share your thoughts, your feelings of how you are right now after that hard drive from yourself?
I needed the win. I had to. It was no ifs or buts. I had to win that race. I'm just overjoyed. Second race win of the season. So, it was a bit. Yeah, the start, as you said, was a bit. But I saw Nitro go a bit wide, so I just had to go on the inside, slap it to Rich for about 4 laps just to try and pull a gap, and then just tried to control it from there. Save me fuel to the end just in case it was getting a bit close, because I knew MJ Coop and everyone else was going to be pushing me. It was just tiring. Tiring.
It seemed, Spud, that you started the season in absolutely fantastic form, securing the race win in Mexico, and there's been a bit of poor form in between. How did you approach tonight's race differently? And can you use that experience to go into the last 2 races of the season?
I've said this to Malk. It's been one of my favourite tracks. This track, I'm always in the top 3, unless something drastically happens, I get taken out or something. But it's just one of the tracks I can do well at. Even if I'm back at the grid, like Fast Going was, I can always fight my way through somehow. It's just one of them tracks I can just go around, and yeah, there's a couple of races left to go. Hopefully I can get another win, but it depends on what car I get. The first win, I was in the Ferrari, so it was. I'm in one of the best cars, but I thought Tom would have been a lot better in the Merc. But it was just one of them things. I just had a good teammate that let me through because he knew I was a little bit quicker than him. Weren't team orders or anything. He just let me past, and that helped me catch up with Coop and overtake him on the DRS straight.
And it seems that you've jumped a few places in the driver's table. You started on 35 points this season, and now you have 47. I think you're round about 3rd or 4th in the table, and I think you've actually jumped McLugby, who was unable to race tonight, and within 4 points of the Boogster. Is a top 3 finish in the championship table a realistic goal for you now?
It's going to be tough, because obviously Booster's not going to be racing until the last race. So if I can get some good points, I should jump him. Brits, the ones above me, they're just. It's going to be tough. If I get the Red Bull again next race and the rest of the races, I'd stand a chance of jumping them, but it all depends on what car I get.
So I just want to move from Sir Spud on to second place driver Mr. Stim. Congratulations. It looks as if you really wanted that podium tonight after last week's 4th place finish. It looks as if you were a little bit impatient behind Fast Going into turn 1, and I think with MJ Coop's puncture in the last lap, that certainly gave you second place. Did you ever think you were going to finish as high in tonight's race results after some comments that you were making in preparation and lead up to tonight's race?
I can't really say anything just now. I'm obviously really happy with finally getting a podium in such a long time. I think Canada was in the shout for that as well. Hungary last week could have had a chance, just didn't really work out with the drives coming out. Today, the pace was definitely there. The car felt quite stable with no traction, which I was really happy about. Um, I knew I can push for that podium, but I never expected to finish so high up there. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result.
And it looked at the start of the race when you were behind Nitrogas, it looked as if there was a few moments where there was a bit of lag spiking going on. And I think there might be an investigation after the race in terms of the result of that. Does that concern you, or do you feel that, that's just what happens in online racing? Is it something that worries you going into, next week in USA or Malaysia?
Well, you can't really completely cut off lag from everyone. I mean, uh, I can't remember who was it last week, but I'm pretty sure there was someone who had a little bit
Okay.
of lag last week. And I mean, it's something you can't really hide from league racing. I mean, all my devices were off. The only device was on internet today was my PS4, and yeah, I mean, it's something you can't really stop sometimes.
Just going back to the start of the season, Stim, that there was almost this bit of banter developing between yourself and the Bigster, and it's just been unfortunate that you've missed a few races. Are you going to be hoping to beat him in the last race of the season, almost have bragging rights in that, or are you just focusing on your own races going into the end of the season?
In all fairness, I'm just focusing on my own race now. Bixer is quicker than me, I can tell you that. He got the race win in his Albert, he got in a McLaren. When I had those cars, I couldn't do the same. He's definitely a faster driver, he's definitely better than me. I hold my hands up for that. And I just have to focus on my own race.
Okay, thanks very much. So we move on to third place driver Fascone, and yeah, it looks as if you're going to finish in fourth, and a disaster for Coop at the end of the race. So how do you feel just getting into that podium on that last lap of the race? So I think you've actually moved up ahead of him in the Drivers' Championship and a little bit closer to SJD. So how are you going to approach the end of the season? Is it just beating the rivals round about you, or is it just trying to get the best result for yourself in the last two races of the season? Okay. Gareth, have you got any questions that you would like to ask the top three drivers from tonight's race?
Yeah, I've got one for the top two. I was just going to ask Spud. You seem to be enjoying the mediums. You were pulling away from Coupe in second. Did you enjoy the compound? Did you find it slightly preferable to your initial set of super softs?
Yeah, I did a bit of practice last night, and the mediums were just lasting way longer than I thought. I think it was about 10 laps last night on the supers, and then did the rest on mediums, and they were mid 50s, so I knew I could take the supers that one lap more to make the mediums last a little bit longer, just in case I was having a battle towards the end of it, so I'd have a bit more tyre wear because I knew everyone pitted before me. So I thought, well, maybe I can last a bit longer and I can push towards the end if they start catching me. The mediums were better. I just didn't like the softs, not at all. They went off too quick.
Yeah, and equally to Stim, you went for the two-stop strategy, which was different to the top four, the top four at the time. So, did you think coming in for that second stop that you'd eventually end up on the podium, or do you think that the one stop was eventually going to take the podium at the time?
With no assist, I wasn't comfortable going with the hardest compound, so I just kind of had to play a more safely. Knowing the past experience, to stop with double soft strategy worked better, and I think that's what played a big part today as well. As I caught fast on within a few laps with like a 9-second gap, caught up within 4 or 5 laps, and then yeah.
Perfect. Well, it was a great race, guys, and there was battles up and down the grid. I'm sure Craig would agree with me that it was absolute joy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely great racing up and down the grid. Would have liked to have seen a little bit more at the front, but you know, Spud's absolutely driving masterclass, controlled the race from start to finish. Commiserations to Coop, of course, but congratulations to Sir Spud, Mr. Stim and Fast Going, who are your top 3 drivers for this week's Bahrain Grand Prix. So, to bring the stream to a close, thank you to Gareth who'd joined me this evening. Hopefully he joins me for next week at the Circuit of the Americas. We certainly hope that you enjoyed tonight's racing. Thanks as always to those that joined us and for the comments. And whoever's making some, eat, make me some as well. I'm starving. So thanks as always to everybody that's joined us. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's race as much as we did for commentating with it, and we certainly hope that you join us for the USA Grand Prix next week, next Tuesday at 8 PM. So thank you all and good evening.